Everybody listen to We're Not Wizards. Because we are the best. And we're not wizards. No matter what anybody says. Goodbye.
Hello and welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I'll be your host for March. It's actually April now, isn't it? Failed already. Well, by the time it comes out, it'll be April anyway. I mean, maybe, I don't know, there's something going on with my brain. It's almost a case that maybe it's been influenced by some kind of, I don't know, alien technology. I don't know, and it happened to my grandfather eons and eons ago, ages and ages ago, even back into the kind of last century and beyond, because joining me today to talk about their Kickstarter, I have got a gentleman by the name of Justin Blaske. Justin Blaske is from
Hey, that's me.
Is you, and you know, he's from 524Labs, but obviously, as I said to him, those Americans can't get their dates right, so his company name is actually the 24th of May, and I want him to change everything, the domain name and the whole thing. But we are here today to talk about Area 1851 Express, which
well, thank you for having me.
you know, I think you deserve a medal for putting up with the previous 10 minutes of nonsense, which is never ever going to appear anywhere.
It was still fun.
You know, well, that's what we kind of try to do. How are you, first of all? You well?
I'm doing all right. It's been a busy day so far, but a good day.
That's good. Whereabouts are you in?
How about you?
I'm in a quandary. I don't want to. I'm going to say, you know, as I say, it could be 4 hours or the 8 hours, but we'll discuss that as we go in. I'll potentially come up with an epiphany in the entire situation, but these people are just going to have to wait if that happens, basically.
Yep.
That's the way it's going to be.
Well, they'll get it eventually.
They will get, or not get it at all, which is, I've come to kind of expect that, to kind of be perfectly honest. For people who haven't listened to the show before, bless you, child, for doing so. The reason that we do this is because I'm a firm believer that technically at some point, if I keep doing this, I will have interviewed every single person that's ever been involved in the tabletop space. And the other reason that we do this is because there was a kind of a posting on a Facebook group, and it started a conversation with somebody called Rachel, and Rachel introduced me to Justin, and so we were having a conversation to talk about the Kickstarter, which I think is kind of right, isn't it?
Yep.
Pretty much.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
It is.
I think that's how it worked out.
I don't know. I'm guessing if we've done something wrong, then we'll get picked up on it later on. It's all kind of fine. What's mood like in camp at the moment? Because you're currently, you've got about kind of like, well, about 18 days to go on the campaign. You're sneezing about the 50% level in terms of funding. So how are you feeling at the moment?
It's obviously we're not where we wanted to be at this point initially, but I still have hope. We're tense but hopeful, I think, would be the easy explanation right now.
Yeah.
But we didn't rock it off like we'd hoped at the start, but we still got a good footing, and I think we can still make it.
It's a strange time because I've kind of seen a lot of people kind of rocket off and go into the stratosphere, and I've seen other guys kind of like steady as they are and kind of eventually fund, and I've seen other people that have kind of just not got anywhere at all, and there's no rhyme or reason for kind of anything, kind of at all, you know.
It's a weird situation right now.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about even kind of Weta's kind of latest offering, kind of District 9, just not getting the kind of the traction. But then in the background, you've got like you've got other ones which just seem to be ploughing away kind of quite nicely. But we're not here to talk about them. We're here to talk about you, and we're here to find out a little bit more about your bad self, and
oh boy,
and how you actually got into the world of pressed and printed trees in the first place, Justin. Educate me.
Oh boy. So, I mean, it goes all the way back to probably junior high for D&D and stuff like that.
Okay.
And before then, even, the risks and the monopolies and the clues. But for modern board gaming, it probably really was, as it is with a lot of people, Settlers was really the thing that got me back into this crazy hobby that we have. Playing that and getting into that, and started making like a recurring event with friends, and started hearing about other games. I think after that it was Alien Frontiers kind of pulled me in. I was like, oh, there's a lot of different things we can do.
Do you think that in America itself, do you think that the problem with people spreading the drug that is Settlers of Catan is currently bigger than any kind of threat by, say, the likes of marijuana? Because anyone that I've spoken to that has started on Catan, has ended up, with a habit that in some ways has cost them a small fortune, has obviously increased their social circle, but, has definitely decreased the ability of how much storage space they have in their houses.
That's a really funny way to think about it, though. It's a problem.
You know what? And it's right in people's faces. I don't think there's any legislation for it as well. I think if you said, what are you doing tonight? And you could walk by a couple of cops in the town and say, right, I've got a big bag of weed. I'm just going away to smoke it. They would be on you. They would be on you like nobody's business. They might be
a little upset. They might be a little upset about it.
If you, however, passed with a couple of copies, if you had Catan under one arm, and you maybe had Ticket to Ride under the other, not a word. Not a word.
What's that? Where's that nerd going?
Exactly. What are you doing? I'm doing some sheep, and I'm chasing the train.
That's right.
And that's it. What a load of nonsense. But anyway, it's just something, it's something that's going under the radar. And what's happening with the big Catan empire? I mean, are we going after the guys at source here? I mean, this is a national problem. Or maybe it is in my mind, but I have no idea. Did you go then to build up a bigger collection from there? I mean, was that your jumping off point? And
that was definitely where I started off. And it slowly started growing. Found out about Kickstarter, and then things really started growing, and just really started getting into the hobby, listening to podcasts, watching reviews and whatnot, and then it was all downhill from there.
Do you remember the first Kickstarter game that you backed?
Oh man, you know what? I actually might be able to pull it up here. I don't know offhand. Let's find out. I'm probably gonna find it and be like, oh, I don't want to say
because I've sold it.
It looks like it might have been Super Tooth. The first time
really?
Super Tooth went to Kickstarter, which was quite a while ago. They actually, I think that failed. And the guy actually who designed it is, I want to say his name is Neil. He's from around here. He's from about 3-4 hours away, and we had met up at a local convention.
Uh-huh.
And that project eventually it failed, but got picked up by GameRate, and so now it's been fully published by GameRate, new art and everything.
That's pretty cool.
So it's a pretty cool little success story for him.
I think mine was Heavy Steam by Greenbrier Games.
Yeah. Yep.
That's it's a spectacular game that I don't think kind of gets enough love But it is the epitome of Kickstarter. It came in, it funded kind of relatively well, did okay at the time, went out to the backers, and you never ever hear about it. You know, it's quite a kind of a sad thing.
Heavy Steam was interesting to me. I saw that so I had been working on a steampunk mech game.
All right.
That I was designing, and then Heavy Steam shows up on Kickstarter, and I was like, I think I'm just going to shelf this game for a little bit now.
It was strange because it was a case of it was really funny because I remember at the time kind of looking at it and going, the board itself was tiny. I mean, the board itself was maybe not even as big as 2 sheets of like A4 paper. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was about maybe 7 inches. The board was maybe 7 or 8 inches across by maybe about 20 inches wide, 20 inches length. Okay. Yeah. So it was a tiny board, and you just put your figures on there and you move them kind of up and down, and depending on what you did. But the actual kind of player board was huge because you were funneling kind of steam.
You were funneling your power all around and stuff, yeah.
And it was very, very complicated. And I did play it a couple of times, but it was quite difficult to teach. So
yeah, that's rough.
You know, that is a bit kind of rough. Are you more of a Kickstarter person? Are you a retail person, or are you kind of a mixture of the two when it comes to your collection?
I'm probably a pretty even mixture. I'll keep my ears to Kickstarter to see what's coming out. I'll back some stuff here and there. But I also like to just wander into the game store here in town and see what's on the new stuff end cap and see what's going on there too.
Mm-hmm. What have you bought recently compared to what have you kind of backed quite recently?
Let's see. So, recent buy, actually, a funny recent buy would be, I guess just a few months back I bought Dinosaur Island.
Oh, yeah.
In the store, instead of backing it on the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Just because I'd missed out on that one. Actually got an amazing deal. Actually, Rachel found this deal, at Barnes & Noble here.
Oh, right.
They like to do their clearance sales on occasion. She picked up, Downforce for like $10.
No way.
Yeah, base game for $10.
No way.
Yeah.
I always wonder about that. I wonder about retail establishments and thrift stores, charity shops as well. Because sometimes, you'll walk in, there's places you'll walk in and there'll be something that'll be ridiculously priced, and other times you'll walk in and be like, you're actually selling that for £15. I almost feel guilty going up to the counter. And it was almost like a case I thought about handing over a £20 note and saying, keep the change because I'm actually doing you out of money here, kind of thing.
For me, seeing that kind of stuff happen, I wonder, as a publisher, oh great, did they lose some of their deal here with them now that they're clearancing out their games? I get concerned on the industry side. Oh no, are these guys going to have trouble putting more restoration games into Barnes & Nobles now because of stuff like that?
I don't know. It depends on how the individual business model works, I guess. It depends on if it's a Barnes and I don't know if it's you'll have managers that'll just have the ability to say, right, okay, we're getting 20 new lines coming in. We need to clear out some of the old stock.
Right.
And, to be honest, if you're Barnes & Noble, you're not necessarily... Sometimes you've maybe got board games, and we've got Waterstones over here, which is kind of the same type of deal. Okay. They're kind of bookshops, but as time goes on, the other day I was in, they had Fallout there, they had Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. They've always got the staples kind of Scotland Yard and obviously Gateway Drug Catan, kind of sitting on the shelves. But I sometimes wonder, the guys in there, I wouldn't... This is going to sound terrible. I wouldn't necessarily go up and ask the staff, expecting them to know about kind of the games. I wouldn't expect to go up and say, grab Catan and say, look, is this any good? Because I wouldn't expect them to. It'd be kind of going up and saying, here's the latest novel here. What do you think of this book? Do you think I should buy it? Based on, right. It'd be kind of put them in a kind of an unfair position. Have you played Downforce yet? Have you got it to the table?
I haven't played our new copy of it, but I have played it before. A friend of mine actually has it, and
All right,
I liked it quite a bit.
Cool. What about Dinosaur Island? Have you managed to play that yet?
I have played that one. That's a fun one. I like it's a nice heavy crunchy game, but I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, I've played that a couple of times myself. I played it with the kids, and they kind of enjoyed it. They kind of like the color scheme, the kind of the day glowness of it.
That 90s vibe.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I've got kind of a similar themed game, Dinogenics.
Okay.
Which is kind of like it's kind of like the grittier version. I guess if DC did a Dinosaur Island game, because it's kind of like more. I know Richard.
The grey dark.
Grim dark.
That grim dark version.
The grim dark version. Nah, it's just kind of like darker dinosaurs and stuff like that, and it's not as day-glow as Dinosaur Island, but there's been a lot of buzz about it because I think they put their retail copies on the shelves and on their stores internationally, and it kind of like sold out within about 10 minutes, much to everybody kind of going. So it's kind of like it's done kind of quite well.
That's awesome.
In terms of like your kind of journey, when did you start kind of getting into the design kind of side of things? What made you kind of pick up the kind of the pen and the paper?
It was a while ago. So back forever ago, there was an episode of The Dice Tower that I remember Tom going on about. There just wasn't enough Western games out there. He was annoyed that there were so many zombie games and nobody was really taking on Westerns. And I thought, well, I could do that. Maybe. I don't know. It's just kind of started making an idea around that concept back then. And that's actually what turned into what was... Oh, go ahead.
No, I said, had you been working on it for a while before you kind of got started off it?
Yes and no. So Area 1851 was the Western game I ended up designing in response to that. Mm-hmm. I worked on it for probably 2 years before taking it to Kickstarter the first time. Because I had originally tried to launch it as a full-fledged board game several years ago. Mm-hmm. And that did not fund, and then ended up getting picked up by GamesLoot right then and there too. And then they funded it and made it. And so we were able to get new art, cool stuff, make it all beautiful. Yeah. And they released it, and it just didn't sell well for them. And so I was able to get the rights to the art and everything back. Mm-hmm. And so I decided to kind of do a tuning pass, and that's remove some of the ancillary things that just slowed the game down and confused things a bit, and came out the other end with what we have now with Area 1851 Express.
So is that the whole idea? Was it? Were you frustrated a little bit by the kind of the finished product that was there, that you thought, well, if I'm going to do this again, if I'm going to take a second bite of the cherry here, I'm going to streamline it and take out an awful lot of things that were kind of there?
Yeah, I would, sitting back, like, it wasn't a bad game, but it wasn't a great game at all. And like looking back at it, it was definitely a designer's first game kind of situation. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what to cut. I didn't know what things would work overall. So just threw a bunch of things in, and it was playable. But I think it needed a good pass of development with some experience behind it, just to kind of knock out the things that weren't necessarily important.
Yeah. Okay. Did you have other projects kind of on the go? I mean, are you the type of creator that has always got like a pad of kind of like 5 or 10 various different kind of game ideas at various different stages, or do you just kind of like sit there and say, right, I'm going to concentrate solely and completely on this idea until it kind of gets to fruition, and then kind of see where we go from there?
I have a lot of stuff going all at different points, really. Sometimes an idea will just come to me and I gotta write it down, and I'll circle back around to it later. I've got I probably have, looking at the shelf of things, I probably have 5 or 6 different games that are in various states of playability that at some point in time we'll be able to move forward on, but a lot of them aren't mint tin games, and so I don't get a focus on those yet right now. Gotta stick with the mint tins for the most part.
Because you had Mintworks,
yes,
that came out. I mean, where did that come from? Was again that just kind of like an idea that just went, oh, this actually is going to work. Oh, this works kind of really, really well, and wow, it's, let's get this kind of out there as kind of quickly as possible.
It was an interesting situation. There was a competition on BGG. It was like one of the design competitions, and it was make a game that fits in a mint tin. And that was the only requirement: is do whatever you want. Just when all is said and done, the whole game has to fit inside a little Altoids tin.
Yeah.
And I saw that and I was like, oh, that's cute. I'm never going to be able to do something like that. That's a weird constraint. I'm not going to deal with that. And so I just discounted it. And then a week later, I'm just sitting on the couch relaxing and, oh, wait a second. What if I did this? That might work. And, went and wrote some stuff down, started testing it. And, after probably 2 hours of making files and printing it out and stuff, it was playable. And, not that different than what it is today.
That was kind of like, that was what you would call the successful breakthrough debut album.
For sure,
because
definitely.
First of all, you kind of had, you had people like Rado kind of look at it, and, he was coming out with things like saying, if, you were basically kind of reneging on your nerd status if you didn't have a copy of this in your back.
Right.
Your back pocket
he
kind of
something
thing.
Along those lines. I remember that.
Yeah.
It was like any card carrying geek is going to have this game or something like that. Yeah. I was like, that's a quote we need on the campaign page.
I know, I'm looking at it just now.
Oh, nice.
But, was that kind of strange to kind of be in that kind of situation where you're kind of like, well, this is just something I thought. Why is everybody kind of loving it so much? Did you feel a bit of imposter syndrome and stuff? It
was very surreal. I agreed that it was a good game, but the amount of people who were getting behind it was surprising and a little overwhelming, because I had actually started the campaign. I was personally messaging every backer. But it got to where it was gaining backers so quickly, I could spend an 8-hour day messaging people and not make it any closer to the end, actually be further from the end. And so I actually had to cut it off at one point and be like, I can't keep messaging people, or I'll be messaging people before we get this thing into print.
Because at the end of it, you ended up with like over 6,500 backers.
Yeah. It was crazy, and it was so much more than I was ready for. But it worked out. We were able to get things done. I think we actually fulfilled on time with that campaign, and had we got 6,000 plus people who got to see how I run a campaign, which is I try to be very transparent with what I'm doing and decisions that need to be made. That I can I'll get the input from the backers if it's a thing that would make sense for them to give input on. But even so, I'll still take the game, like what's best for the game, and move forward with that kind of thing. And I think it helped people to see what we were doing. Having a nice low price point made it easy for people to jump in and not feel like it was a risk. Because I think we were like $12 US for Europe and Australia, and so we had about 40% of our backers were overseas.
Yeah, for that, let's look at, in all honesty, when you've got like the Kickstarter landscape, and it seems that kind of like the big box games are creeping up around about the $100, $120 mark, to the point where some games I've seen are basically, in all honesty, you've got to sink at least $150, $170 to kind of get the actual vision of the designer sometimes, once you add in kind of like additions and stuff like that. Something like yours, I can see it becoming a no-brainer for people. I can see it being, people kind of just saying, well, if this person, whether Rado liked it, Ed O'Baraf liked it, James Hudson liked it, all these different people from the industry were kind of like saying they kind of really, really liked it. But then looking at the price and you saying, well, it's $12, it's like, well, I spent $12 last night getting a takeaway meal.
Right.
It instantly becomes something that, something that becomes like almost like, as I say, it's a no-brainer. I can see that because, Kickstarter is obviously very good at when somebody backs a project, everybody that follows them gets a little notification. Right. So I can sometimes see how the virus kind of takes off. But, I mean, so you delivered Mintworks, you decided obviously to completely scale it back and live the quiet life with the next project.
Right. Yeah,
which was,
want to keep it small. It's a low-key campaign.
Humble. Just, and then you went to Mint Delivery.
Right.
And even with you being prepared how Mintworks took off, did you in any way, shape or form were you ready for what happened with Mint Delivery? Because that went, hey, Mintworks, hold my beer.
Right. That's exactly what happened. I thought I was ready, but I was not ready for that level. And I was just short of 10,000 backers. I think it was a lot more people and a lot more units. And just, there was a lot more going on that campaign. Because you could add on Mintworks, because also behind that campaign was a reprinting of Mintworks, because Mintworks had done so well, we ran out of it, and so we got all the people coming in for Mintworks and Mint Delivery, and getting double copies and all that stuff. It just blew up. I think it funded in like 8 hours or something like that, and we might have been close to 200% funded on the first day. I can't remember offhand right now. I'm not looking at it, but it went amazingly well. Like, it just, I always say my mind is blown. I feel like I say it too much, but that's really what was happening. Like, it was doing so much better than I could have hoped and expected. Even knowing that it would have some of that coming from Mintworks.
But even then, as I say, it's like strange because you can't be a judge of Kickstarter. Right. As in, what's kind of going to happen next? And, I think that was kind of like at the time where people were kind of like, yeah, again, it's kind of like, it was a no-brainer. It was kind of fairly easy. Mm-hmm. Did you feel, going an extra octave, did you feel that there was pressure then for the next project to kind of continue with like a minty theme?
Yeah.
I mean, are you able to walk down the street and just breathe on people and they go, oh, Justin, so minty fresh? But
it's like after that campaign, yeah, we are now the mint people, and so that's actually really funny. There's a few other companies that are doing mint in games. Subcork, Thing 12, they've got some games that are in mint tins, and people will ask me about them. Like, why'd you do it this way? I'm like, that's not me. I get that we do mint tin games, but we don't make them all. And so
yeah,
it's just 524Labs and mint tins have become synonymous now, which I knew was going to be a problem because we've got these I've got a shelf. Mel, the other designer that's part of the company, he's got several games on the shelf. None of these games are mint tin games, and so I actually try to get ahead of it. In some of the updates towards the end of the delivery campaign, I was saying, hey, our next project probably not going to be a mint tin game, just so you know. Like, we're going to change things up a little bit. We'll still be doing mint tin games in the future, but the next one's probably not. Just to start to ease people into the concept that our next game won't be the $10 Instaback.
in terms of like for a reality check for people that kind of listen, is raising 6 figures on a Kickstarter campaign, does that mean you're automatically kind of going full time as a games designer? Or is that a case that, look, I've got 10,000 games to make. It's gonna cost me, it's gonna cost me $4 a unit to make. However, it's gonna cost me $7 to ship it out to you. So actually, out of that $136,000, pounds or $170,000, that actually leaves me with not an awful lot. I'm not, okay, so we're maybe getting an extra, portion of prawn crackers when we have a Chinese takeaway, but we're not kind of rolling around in money. We're not like Scrooge McDuck here.
Right. No. Yeah. It looks impressive, right? People will probably think that, well, we've made what we need to. We should be able to just go on forward now. But in fulfillment costs alone, for mint delivery, it was over $100,000. I think it was closer to 110. So the vast majority of that money went to mailing it around the world, and so it goes away real quick when you're ordering a bunch of units and shipping them around. And to get that price point, we took a lot smaller margins on the game just because we wanted to maintain that insta buy kind of concept. And so it kind of bit us back in that we didn't have a lot of margin to deal with unseen issues and stuff. So unfortunately, it's not my full-time job these days. I'm still doing a regular day job thing.
In terms of with say a retail tale, were you then able to kind of with mint delivery, did that afford you to get enough units to then start kind of plugging away at the retail side of things? Or as I'm thinking, you're kind of we got some extra copies, but it was maybe to sell at kind of conventions and stuff like that. I've not been able to order another 5,000 units to stick into kind of retail distribution or anything.
We definitely ordered enough to be able to satisfy backers and then put some into distribution. Which mint delivery is still in distribution right now. It's available. I get messages here and there when people showing it at their game stores on the shelf. Mintworks sold out again. We got into distribution and it almost immediately sold through, and so we're looking to reprint that one again here in the future. But yeah, it's the goal was to get into retail, but it's just hard to order enough units and to still gauge the market appropriately, really, to know how many extra units to get.
Yeah. Let's face it, even Jamie Stegmaier, he wrote that blog entry about saying, well, look, I'm not being funny here, guys, but, I have absolutely no idea how many units are going to go into distribution because if it's a new game, it's got my name, it's got my tag on it, but it's a new designer, I still have no idea how well it's going to kind of do. So, you're kind of forecasting, kind of forecasting the weather 6 months into the future.
Right. It's
kind of no idea kind of what's going on.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It really is. And I think that's why you see so many publishers still using Kickstarter. I hate having to use Kickstarter. I wish that we could get this kind of thing, get some direct feedback and this general idea somewhere else, because Kickstarter is very saturated and nobody likes giving them 10% of what you raise. It affects everything, and so
yeah, it does. Yeah,
I wish I didn't have to do it, but obviously we're still here. But someday I'd like to make like Jamie and kind of hop off and be able to do things ourselves. But yeah, it's just so hard to gauge the market without something like Kickstarter out there.
Yeah, it's and getting in front of kind of actual kind of getting it published away from Kickstarter can be tricky as well. I mean, getting it pitching, making sure it's turning up. And it depends obviously on your sense of ownership over the game. You know, do you want somebody who's maybe going to take the game and say, this is really, really good. However, we need to add kind of X, Y, and Z to it. Like, you know, it sounds like that was kind of maybe what happened with the original kind of Area 1851, that it was reworked and a little bit of extra stuff that was kind of added into it at the time, which, as you said, is why you've kind of scaled it back. Did you is that, I mean, with obviously you're talking about Mintworks being a kind of it's out of print and you're thinking about doing another version of it, why did you make the decision then to not just tack it on to Area 1851? Because that to me would have seemed like, well, it's a no-brainer here.
Right.
People get their game, Mintworks gets reprinted, we're guaranteed to get, you know, another, you know, at least another couple of thousand backers and stuff like that. Did you had that kind of thought came across the table with you and the team, maybe about adopting that strategy for the game? It
had come across. We really wanted to focus on what the actual campaign was about. And we learned a lot of lessons with the Mint Delivery campaign with add-ons and lots of different ways to order and whatnot. It caused a lot of confusion in fulfillment down the road. And so we tried to streamline things and make it simpler. You get the game, get 2 copies of the game kind of thing. But throwing it on there as a potential add-on might have been enough to get us to blast through on that first day, but it wouldn't give us a very accurate depiction of where Area 1851 Express sits in the market, though. It'd be very, very bloated by those Mintworks numbers, and so we may end up ordering too many issues or copies extra, and then sitting on 1,000 of them that can't sell. And so, because it was such a different game, because it was, you know, it's what we like to call our big box game. We decided to just let it stand on its own and see where it goes. We believed in it. Obviously, we wouldn't even try to push it out if we had. It's a great game, and I still think it's going to fund on its own. And if we have to do a campaign down the road for a reprint on Mintworks, or if we're able to secure that in other ways, we'll do that. But we'll get the Mintworks reprint going for sure, just because it's kind of our evergreen title at this point, and it just keeps selling. So we got to keep it in stock if we can.
Okay, I mean, we've spoken enough. I feel minty fresh. I don't know about you. I'm kind of, I'm breathing out so much my eyes are watering a little bit. You know, obviously it's now important, almost 40 minutes into the show, about the reason that you came on the show in the first place, to talk about the reason that you came on the show in the first place, which is to tell everybody. I do this all the time, Justin.
That's all right.
You know,
it's what the show's about, right?
It's slow and steady wins the race.
That is right.
I guess. I'm thinking about going in tomorrow, to be honest, to ask the previous question that we thought, just to get some kind of stuff done.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to fall behind.
Even though my out of office is on, which means that if people try to email me, then they're going to get like kind of the out of office flag kind of coming up, which means I'll probably be less disturbed than normal, so it's potentially a win-win.
Yeah, you'll get even more done.
I think so. So I'm glad we got that sorted out. Everybody's going to go, what's that about? What is this? Is this secret code? It's like, yes, it is.
Yeah, it's just a secret.
It's ASMR secret code. And later on, we're going to be eating some crisps.
Yeah.
Area 1851 Express.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
So,
educate us.
Well, it is a card drafting game. I like to say it fits somewhere between Sushi Go and Seven Wonders in complexity. So it's got a little more decision making to do. You've got a little more going on, but not quite as crazy as Seven Wonders. Plays in like half an hour, 45 minutes, depending on how many players you're playing with, and it's got a lot of funny stuff going on in it, both in card names and flavor text, and just the weird ways you combine it. It's definitely kind of a goofy, lighthearted game that you still got to pay attention to while you're playing it. Otherwise, someone else is just going to run away with it.
And how many players?
2 to 5, though there's been some requests on the campaign. And because of the Mint 10 games, people have liked my solo modes, and so I've been working on a solo experience for Area 1851 Express, and it's making good progress. I've got it to a few people to test to see if it's solid enough to fully develop, and it looks like it might be. So hopefully here in a few days I can post an update talking about, or maybe I've posted it already, depends on when this goes up, talking about what solo will look like.
I like how you covered yourself there, just in case.
Time travel, man.
Just in case. I might just kind of just post this immediately. I don't think there's much to edit, apart from me sounding like a Muppet. But I always sound like a Muppet, so there's not an awful lot to kind of.
I don't think you can edit that.
Edit. I don't think I could remove it by surgery. To be perfectly honest, it's just one of these things. Is it quite quick to play? I mean, you're looking at 40 minutes. Is it an hour long? Is it
I think that once you sit down, if everybody knows it, it's going to go in like half an hour. You go 45 minutes with a teach, and as long as everybody's focused, because it is a drafting game and there's a lot going on. If people start side talking or someone gets distracted, you're gonna slow it down a bit, just because everybody's kind of waiting on one person potentially. Or if you get someone who kind of APs a little too much with some of the choices. But really, on average, you're going to look at half an hour, 45 minutes. And you should.
What am I going to do in a turn?
Oh, on a turn. So you'll.
What am I going to do in a turn?
You will take. So you get a hand of cards, 7 to start with. You will select one of those cards based on any number of factors. Maybe you like the name. Maybe you want the points. Maybe you like the effect it gives you. You'll lock that in as your choice for the turn. Once everybody's done that, you reveal it. You're either starting a new gadget, putting it in what we call your scrap heap, which is kind of a save for later pile. Maybe you're attaching it to something you've already started. Everybody's doing that. Then potentially someone delivers something that they've completed. If not, pass those cards around and keep going. You just kind of a rinse and repeat there. You do that for 3 rounds, back and forth. And so, you've built a plethora of gadgets, and everybody knows your reputation.
And there you go. Have you been tempted to kind of add additional things in? When you're thinking about stretch goals, have you said, right, okay, no more mechanics.
Right.
We're just going to go for like quality of life stuff. So you'll get some thicker card. We'll maybe do some slightly different tokens. Right. That kind of thing.
Yeah, we did, because I didn't want to do things that would really delay getting it off to the manufacturer. Because we've already got all the art, we've got all the vast majority of the design work done. So we didn't want to add a bunch of stuff mid-campaign that would cause us to miss our expected date. Because you can't change that once you put it on the pledge level. And if you add things to the campaign, well, you can say in an update that, we've added enough stuff, we're going to have to push our delivery date out. But that doesn't matter 3 months down the road when someone's looking at what it says on the pledge level. And so we really wanted to be able to deliver on time, and everything that would be coming, that would be added. I've got a lot of an expansion made already, and so that would go into that expansion, which we actually wouldn't print at the same time. It would be a separate printing and a separate delivery. It's just kind of a thank you to everybody who got us to that point. So we would send it to everybody for free on that. But I really just didn't want to add a bunch of mechanics mid-campaign to bog things down and maybe unbalance things, because we would have to test it again, and so it's all very as you were quite right. It's all very well kind of adding in kind of additions and expansions and extra modes because things are rattling along. And you're wondering, kind of what you can do next in order to kind of add value to the proposition. But sometimes it must be a strange situation, because I know people that spend kind of 2-3 years developing the game to the level that they want, and then they make a decision on the Kickstarter campaign to add an additional mode, which then they find out they've only got 2 or 3 months to test. Right.
And as you're quite right, you can end up in that situation where it can be one wrong thing, and it can end up being, oh, it's Errata City now.
Right.
Here's the latest version of the rules because
exactly.
that previous
I don't
card
want
that we kind of gave you, we're having to change it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then like the other side of that coin is like Kickstarter exclusives, right? And I don't want to do those because I'm either just throwing in nonsense because they backed it on Kickstarter, or I'm taking things away from the true experience for everybody else who gets it retail. And that's I'm not okay with that. And so I want everybody to play the real full game. So that's why I don't want to do some of those weird Kickstarter exclusives like that.
I see the reason for kind of doing them, but at the same time it's also actually kind of slightly put me off kind of getting a game.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know, I kind of understand. I'm always kind of sitting on the fence when I see a click. I can completely understand for doing them, because in these kind of times, you've got to say, right, if you back this game on Kickstarter, you'll definitely get, this will be an additional. I have seen Kickstarter exclusives where people have been quite annoyed at the Kickstarter exclusive when they got it through the door, and have then been quite vocal. And then, or when I've seen a game on the second-hand market come up and people have said, well, it's got the Kickstarter exclusive. It's like, well, what is the Kickstarter exclusive?
Right.
It's, it's this token is solid instead of being a bit of cardboard, and folk went, oh.
Don't care. Or,
okay.
Or, yay. Sometimes people just want it for that completionist, but sometimes people want to know what the utility of it is. But, like, to me, those Kickstarter exclusives or like more content coming in through stretch goals, like, to me, it really feels like where the video game industry is with DLC, right? Like, right, like, are you giving us the full game or not, kind of thing. And so that's why I try to avoid that stuff, because I want to be giving the full game. I want everybody to know I'm giving the full game.
That's a whole other discussion about kind of add-ons and things that you pay kind of extra for. And I think it can sometimes kind of go against the campaign if the campaign hasn't been funded already. I know that Simon, I mean, they're kind of the Game of Thrones IP, the Song of Fire and Ice. I know that didn't reach the giddy heights, I believe. They were quite public, when they launched their reports and said that, some of their Kickstarter IPs that they launched that year just didn't perform the way that they kind of expected them. And that campaign had an awful lot of extras that you could purchase. So if you were wanting the full amount, you were walking away, you were walking in with a couple of $100 in order to kind of get the full experience. And I could, you don't want to light the blue touch paper and step back with this one, Justin, because I will just go off like a firework in the distance, and all you'll hear is me screaming. So I'm just we're not gonna kind of go there. If we want to light the blue touch paper, that's so bad. On Area 1851, how much is it to get a ticket to the Alien Cowboy Yeehaw Extravaganza?
$22.
What's gonna
gets you in the door with a copy of the game.
Bucks.
And then,
can you say that with an American accent?
$22, partner.
Oh, that's amazing! You actually.
But yeah, I think we're doing shipping after the campaign too, because we wanted the funding level to be the appropriate amount to make the game, and so we've got all our shipping information on there. So depending on whereabouts you live, you can have a general idea of what that's going to cost later on. But yeah, $22 gets you a copy of the game, and you'll be able to have a blast with your friends and your family, and make weird things together.
Or you can go for $42 and get the person that you love a copy of the game as well.
This is very true. And it's an even better discount because it's only $42 for 2 copies.
You can take that saving that you're going to make on that, and you can also maybe buy them a kind of a card to go with their present of their game. It's not a very good argument, but it's the best one I can come up with.
It's an acceptable argument.
Off the top of my head.
I'll take
it. It's a good point, well spoke, as you would say. Have you got plans? I mean, next plans. I mean, have you got a big box game going? You mentioned kind of Mintworks and the potential kind of reprint stuff. So where are we going next? What can we expect from the 24th of May games?
Well, the next project we have coming up, we're going to be doing in the fall, probably September, and that's going to be another Mint 10 game. We're going back to Mint 10s. This one's been in design for a while, been in development. It's actually I did not design this one. This next one, this was designed by a couple of guys they've done a few games. I don't know if you've ever heard of Jonathan Gilmore or Brian Lewis, but they worked with us on this next game.
Jonathan. Did they do a covers album using ukulele?
I think that was it. Yeah. Or no, there's some game they did. I can't remember what it is.
It's a kind of is it not Lizard Peninsula? No, it's
like
not.
That.
It's on the tip of my T-Rex tongue.
Amphibian Cliffs.
Oh dear. Right, that's okay, everybody knows, let's talk about the Brachiosaurus in the room.
But yeah,
wow.
John had actually approached me after the Mint Delivery campaign, and we talked a little bit, and I said, we're hoping to do a co-op game here. So if you want to take your hand on it, go for it. And he decided to do that. So we got a Mint 10 co-op game coming up here in September.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, of course, because you have now officially been a guest on the show, you are obliged to at least ignore one of my emails that asks you to come on for your next project. You are aware of this, Justin.
I didn't realize I was obliged to do that.
It's in the contract that nobody signed. But it's all right. I was speaking to John. Interestingly, I was speaking to John the other day because for some reason he accepted my Facebook request. I have no idea why. But he's coming on again.
Oh, cool.
As soon as I, so yeah, so we could have a chat and
pester him a little bit
find
about
out.
it.
And I will. But enough about him. If we are interested in finding out more about your good selves, where can we find you on the internet webs?
On the internet webs, I can be found. Me personally, I'm typically J Blaske on everything. That's usually me. Okay. Twitter's the one exception. Don't follow J Blaske on Twitter. It's _J Blaske. Some Janet. I bet.
Do they use their account?
Someone got that account.
Do they use their account?
No, they don't. It was a long process of me trying to get that account because one person registered it for like a drawing, then they never used it, and no. I emailed Twitter over and over again. I tweeted at them. I emailed everything, deaf ears, only to find out that the account ended up getting hacked and by a porn site basically, and so now whenever people try to follow me and don't follow the right one, they get interesting stuff. I think the account actually might have been banned at this point, but yeah. Oh, unfortunately, on Twitter I'm _J Blaske, but everywhere else I'm pretty much J Blaske.
And cool. And obviously we've got the link to the Kickstarter, which we will make sure that we take all of the links and we put them in the show notes so that we have notes to show. Thank you very, very much for coming on,
Thank you for
Justin.
having me. This has been a pleasure.
You've been very, 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 very welcome indeed, and I wish you best of luck.
Thank you.
With the rest of the campaign. For everybody out there, if you listened along and you want to keep an eye on what we're up to, you can find us anywhere. I mean, seriously, go to the Googles, search We're Not Wizards, like a rash. The one that you're so embarrassed to go to your doctor about because you think it's going to get better, but then you realise it's actually going to make one of your arms fall off. Because you can find us on Twitter and Facebook. We've got our website, which is we'renotwizards.com. We've got our blog, which is we'renotwizards.blogspot.com. You can find us on Instagram, where we put pictures. You can email us, which is magic@we'renotwizards.com. Yes, I am aware of the irony of the address. It's why I picked it, because I believe I'm very funny. You can find us. You can, if you like this, if you've listened to this and like it, there's a couple of things you can do. You can tell other people about it. Just tell them. Or the other thing you can also do as well is you can go to your podcast catcher of choice and leave us a rating or a review. If you like us even more than that, go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating or a review. And as we say, if you don't give us 10 stars if you do that. 10 is too many, but don't give us 1 star. Yeah, because we're just very ugly, crying, 10 just sobbing
ruins the day.
In the dark.
1 just ruins the day. 1 star. It's
both. Either
it's too much on both sides.
Either 5,
right in the middle.
In the middle, bang, right in the middle, average, because we are just a little bit average. But the person who's not been average is the rather wonderful, the rather fantastic, a yee-haw, me briskets are burning, and all that mad cowboy talk. No, that's not cowboy talk at all, is it? I'm gonna rescue you, little lady. I'm not gonna do that anyway. It's a rather wonderful, rather fantastic Justin Blaske.
Thank you very much.
Sir. And there's only 2 more things to do. First thing, remember, we're many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, Justin?
No, we're not. We're not wizards at all. Who said that? So that's a false rumor.
We are working alongside aliens to create some wonderful technology, but none of that involves magic.
Seems like magic, but it's just technology.
It's just technology. And the second thing is to say goodbye. So it's a goodbye from Justin. Say goodbye, Justin.
Goodbye, Justin.
And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe, roll 6s, and get yourself onto Kickstarter. Get looking at Area 1851 by the 24th of May Labs games. One day they'll get their name right. It might not be today. It might not be tomorrow. But soon, and for the rest of your life. Until the next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
A wizard is never late. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.